This
our
conference
webpage.
will now be recorded.
So we want to make sure that you are aware of that. Also, if you could make sure that your microphone is muted, we certainly would appreciate that. We will have our coaches unmute their mics as they give their team awards. And then we'll have one other opportunity when we induct our Hall of Fame inductee. We would ask that he would unmute and maybe share a couple of comments. But other than that, we ask that you would make sure that your microphone is muted for this evening. Again, we have a very special evening planned for you. But before we start everything off, we're going to start the way that we start every special event off with Williamson, and that is through prayer. So we've asked our chaplain, the Reverend Mark Speck, class of 7W7, to open us with an invocation.
In Psalm 108, I will give you thanks, O Lord, among the peoples, for the greatness of your mercy reaches to the heavens, and your faithfulness to the clouds. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth, that those whom you love may be delivered. O save us by your right hand and answer us. Let us look to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, we do come before you this evening here at Williamson and around the area as we join here in the computer as this virtual meeting takes place. But we know you, Lord, you are present with us and present in this night. We ask again your blessing upon us. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you for your faithfulness over the years to us and to Williamson. And especially, Lord, tonight we honor the young men who have played the sports and have given of their time and their talents and excelled in an area that is part of the Williamson program. Lord, unfortunately, we cannot be together in the dining hall, and we know that the COVID-19 has caused a lot of problems around the country and the world. We ask that you would bring that to an end. We pray for those that are caring for those, the nurses and the staff. We ask you protect them. And above all, Lord, we pray, Lord, for the students, even though they've lost, but may their joy and your peace be with them. Guide us this evening, and may everything that is said and done be to your honor and glory. And we ask this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Speck, and we certainly appreciate that. And as I mentioned, we have much to celebrate tonight. And so before we get into our team awards, I just wanted to share with you some of the accomplishments that our guys achieved during the course of this year. And again, it was a very special year. We had 139 students participate in athletics this year as either a player or a manager. That is incredible. That's over a 50% participation rate. And we're so thankful for the sacrifices that those guys made in order to participate in that sport. We also had 41 seniors earn a varsity letterman jacket. They do that by playing in a sport for 3 years. 41 seniors did that. For those who are seniors in the spring sports, we hope to have your varsity letterman jacket for you at the drive-through graduation on May 29th. We are staying on that company, and hopefully they will have that for us. So we'll have that for you May 29th. But 41 of those guys did it for 3 years. We had a school record 9 first-team USCAA All-Americans. We also had 9 academic All-Americans in the USCAA. We had 5 Eastern Pennsylvania Athletic Conference All-Academic team members. In addition, we had 22 all-conference members this year, including 1 conference player of the year and 1 team title in our conferences this year. 2 of our student athletes were ranked either first or second nationally in statistical categories in the United States Collegiate Athletic Association, and both of those guys were in the top 3 in 3 categories. That's unheard of for a tiny little school like Williamson to have guys that are up in nationally. And the top of those statistics is almost unheard of. But again, our guys did that. We had 3 of our teams were nationally ranked during the course of the year, and we had 2 individuals who were nationally ranked during the year as well. In addition to that, even though we didn't play the bulk of our spring sports, our teams combined to win 33 events during the course of this year. Pretty incredible, again, when you think of it. Tiny little Williamson, and yet our guys are performing on a national level. So how do we do that? How do we achieve that success? It is through our dedicated student athletes and through our coaches as well. And so tonight we are going to celebrate them, and we're going to start off with our cross-country team awards and head coach Steve Hickson. who is in his now, it'll be his 16th year as head coach here at Williamson. Coach Hickson, I love to tell the story. He is a 73 graduate of Williamson. And when he came to Williamson, they didn't have soccer, so he decided that never having run before, he would give cross country a try. He did so, and not only did he excel at cross country, but in addition to that, he also decided to get into coaching and had two daughters that excelled on the national level as well. One of the neat things about Coach Hickson is the fact that because he had no previous experience in running cross country, he loves it when we have guys that come out for the team that have no previous experience as well. Certainly he loves it when guys have experience. That's great to coach them. But certainly the neat thing with Coach Hickson is he does a great job with guys who have never run before. And it is a blessing to have him as head coach of our cross country program. So Coach Hickson, if you can unmute your microphone and go ahead with the team awards and the individual and team awards for cross country, that would be great.
Thank you, Dale. Mr. Burbage, if you're looking in on this virtual banquet, I must say that it's surely we're missing the fine meal you always prepare for us. I guess next year, if we get together, we'll have to get double portions. Anyhow, I would like to thank Miss Cassie and Mr. Stewart for all the times that they scheduled and got bands together for me. And of course, Mr. Plummer and Miss Moffett for the countless things that they do throughout the season to take care of the team and make sure that we can succeed. It was a very strange season this year, as it started out with 9 runners and 1 invaluable manager, only to end up halfway through the season with only 4 runners. I lost 4 of my juniors and 1 freshman to injuries. In all my years of coaching, I've never had so many injuries, and it just flummoxed me. There were weeks when I think more of my men were doing PT and seeing Miss Moffett than they saw me. Even my number 1 runner, Patrick James, who had hopes would repeat as a national top 10 runner for the 2nd year in a row, ended up getting injured with the 3 largest meets of the season yet to run. So I'm hopeful that he's healing properly and that he'll be able to come back next year for another shot at nationals. I'm very proud of all the men, as they were true competitors when they did compete, and when they were unable to compete, they were loyal to the team, whether injured or not. I also want to give a special thanks to a James Mcchesney, a soccer player, who agreed to run for Williamson at nationals at our last meet, so we could at least have 5 runners and score. He only had a couple days of practice after soccer was over and the start of our practice for regionals, and he still did very well, ending running a average 7-minute, 7-second mile for the 5-mile course, which was very good for somebody who had never done it before. At this time, I would like to acknowledge my 2019 cross-country team. Our manager, senior Joe Galbraith, like I said, he was invaluable to me, helping keeping the guys in line at PT and helping me with the practices throughout the season and meets. My only junior who was able to stay injured free the entire year was also a co-captain, Josh Baldinger. My other juniors, who were real mentors to the freshmen, whether they ran the full season or not, which they didn't, were John Coppola, Daniel Nixon, Jack Warner, and our other co-captain and number 1 runner until he was injured, Patrick James. The freshmen came in this year working very hard, and I'd like to honor them. Freshman Dominic Beck, Michael Breslin, Levi McCullough, and Nathan Yoder. This year's MVP pick, I don't think missed a single practice and was a strong number 2 runner, number one the last few meets, Dominic Beck, my MVP. My most improved runner, and this is a guy who came in and worked hard. I don't think missed any or many practices if he missed any. He shaved 11 minutes off his time from the beginning of the season to the end, which is quite an accomplishment. There's a lot of guys, 11 minutes is like shaving a whole mile. Lastly, I would like to recognize those who made the EPAC all academic for the 2019 season. They are junior Josh Baldinger, freshman Dominic Beck, Michael Breslin, Levi McCullough, and Nathan Yoder. So thanks and congratulations to the cross-country team 2019.
Thank you, Coach Hickson. And again, congratulations to you and the great job that you do, and to the young men for all their dedication to making cross country such a successful sport here. We certainly appreciate that. Next up is the soccer team. And I love to tell the story. 2 years ago, unfortunately, we were looking for a new coach. Coach Curran had to leave to go on to a different career path. And I had consulted with one of the gurus in Delaware County soccer and to see if he knew of anybody that might be available, of which he told me there was one guy that was a phenomenal coach that was back in the area, but there's no way that we would be able to get him to coach here. So being the athletic director that I am, when you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do something. So I figured I would give it a shot and just pursue this guy and see if he would by any chance be interested. Well, one thing led to another, and I got to meet head coach Peter Glowa initially and was very impressed with him. And the neat thing was, the more that we talked, not only was I impressed with him, but he was impressed with Williamson and what the school stood for. And so one thing led to another, and we were happy to announce 2 years ago that he was our head coach. And he has done a phenomenal job over the 2 years. This past year, we doubled our win total from his first year. But what's even neater is to see the referees that come and do our games and to hear them say, wow, especially this past year, that's the most skilled Williamson team I've ever seen. I like to go to practice just to watch Coach Glow play. He's played internationally, he's coached internationally, and I find it entertaining just to watch him at practice, let alone our guys. But to see the improvement that our guys have done on the field, especially this year, and he's going to touch on some of those highlights, it really was something special. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Coach Glowa, if you can unmute your mic and talk about the soccer team and their awards.
Thank you, Mr. Plummer. So I just want to start and thank Mr. Plummer, the athletic staff, the school, and most importantly, all the men and players for the soccer team. Without you guys believing in the program, believing in me, I wouldn't have been able to do and achieve half the things we did together. And to say that, we really just started the season off with a lot of competitive teams, with a lot of the Penn State teams hanging in there, trying to figure out our best formations, trying to figure out where people came in to the program, as we had, I think, around 8 freshmen. So we had a lot of new blood coming into the team, and that's really hard to figure out where their best positions are. They played in a different position before, and then we have new leaders stepping up from the juniors and seniors. So it's great to see that. And to be honest, this team has grown leaps and bounds from each game to just the mentality that they put on the field. And that's a reflection of them personally. And so this group of athletes and young men has put Williamson on the map. From each game, as I said, to the close of the season, I've had Philadelphia Union Academy graduates come and want to now play for Williamson. And that's something that is not possible without these gentlemen actually playing and showing what the team is about, showing what our values are about. Obviously, we had some hiccups and some red cards and some attitudes that flare, but we're getting rid of that and showing that no matter what, when people get underneath our skin, we're consistent. We're consistent in what we do. We're consistent in how we play. So we ended the season with a 7-7 record. We were 2-1 in the conference, which is great. And on the home field, the new home field, which is also just a blessing in itself too, to allow us to play in the rain, to allow us to play and mix and match when the football doesn't need it, to have a real togetherness growing within this community, and that's something that, again, I'm thankful for the home field. So with that, I'll go through our roster and start off and name our roster with the freshmen, and I'll lead towards the seniors and thank them. So with our freshmen, we had Willie Tilley, who stepped onto the field, different positions, wound up really becoming one of the top leaders, not only in the program, but also for the conference with the number of assists. Richard Torelli, that man has heart and soul that is really hard to replicate for a team. He fights for everyone. It doesn't matter position. Andrew Patika, another goalie, which is great to have on our team. He has fast feet. You never know whether or not he wants to play offense, defense, or in goal. So it's great to have him on the team. Thomas O'Neill stepped in, filled in a hard central position within our defense, and that was something that we had a gaping hole that needed to be filled. And O'Neill is new to the program, but looking for him for next year. And Jim Mcchesney, another member that I just heard about on the cross country side, which is amazing that we have his flexibility, his heart and soul poured into not just the soccer program, but this school. Then we got Angel, who is another member who just wants to go out there and fight no matter what. His development from game 1 to the end of the season is amazing. And it's really something to watch when you see us as a functioning team and trusting one another. And that's up to, again, Angel wanting to contribute no matter what. And Brian Davis kind of burst on the scene strong, came out and is one of the captains for the freshman class. And that was great to have him show what we want as an example for a leader, and looking forward for next year as well. And then Etta Carrera, where he was a previous offensive player. Now he's looking towards playing more in midfield and defense, and knowing that he can create no matter where he is in the field. And that's great for our freshman class. So those are the freshmen. And I'm going to go over to the juniors. And our juniors, we have Jeff Diegio, who was our starting keeper. And he really held in there, making sure we were able to go through everyone and make sure we could lead, and definitely did it from the back. Then we also had Nathaniel Burnshaw. Burnshaw was a flying guy who could hang on the wing. He could hang on the midfield. He could contribute, again, anywhere. And then we also have, for the juniors, Jack Becker. And with naming Jack Becker, he was the leader for his class, the juniors. He was also the defensive MVP. He was also named through his performances the USCA first team or USCA academic All-American. So that's a great accomplishment from Jack, who is always contributing and is really doing it from a position that you wouldn't think is a normal kind of leadership position, which is the left back. And then we move now to the seniors. And with these seniors, it was great. These guys came in. I had 2 years with them. So I had the year before, and I had these guys who were able to show me what it's really all about of being Williamson. And every practice showed me something new. And I think without them, honestly, we wouldn't have been half the team we are today. So I'm looking for all the other freshmen and juniors to step up and fill the gap that they have now left. And I'm starting with Chris Belfie. Chris Belfie is a great guy who, when he's not on the field, he's missed. From the amount of goals he scored this year to the amount of intensity he brought to Patrick Keeley. Patrick Keeley led from the front, and he sure led from the front. He is the first time we have had a first team All-American in the school for soccer. And Patrick Keeley really let us know from last year when he was put in the central striker position to continuing it this year. And he really, really showed what he could do if given the responsibility. And not only being the first team All-American, we have now named the offensive MVP for the year too. So with the three last players on the senior class, these guys are so important to me, so important to the seniors, and so important to the soccer team. We got Eduardo Martinez, Eduardo Martinez, really, I wish I had him last year a little bit more playing, and he had a small ankle injury that kept him out, and it was hard to recover. But when he was in the game, it was leading again by example, and it was great to have him. Tim Mcfarlin, he was centrally important to our team, setting the tempo, setting the intensity, showing how we can attack, how we can defend. And without Tim, again, this class is going to be hard to replace. And then we have Tom Vieira. Tom was our I would say a Tony Wolski Memorial Award for dedication and leadership. And that is having Tom lead again by being a senior continuously, but also making sure that he actually can show how to play the game, not just with fighting, not just with like heart and soul, but how we play it beautifully. And that's something where Tom is someone who was our captain for the seniors, but he was also a Memorial Award, a winner, and I want to make sure that he is recognized as important to everyone else on this team. And so with all those members, and we have a few more managers too, which completed out the team. So we have Igars, Brian Finn, Brian Edwards, Ryan Cole, and Michael O'Brien. These guys consistently were on the field, making sure they got the balls. Sometimes a little forgetful, but we all forget sometimes, but I'm looking forward to them coming back next year and making sure they contribute. And with that, I appreciate this soccer team, from the managers to the freshmen to the juniors to the seniors. And I look forward to working with you guys next year and wish all the seniors a fantastic graduation. You have my number whenever you need. So you guys are fantastic. I really am humbled to work with you. Over to you, Coach, Mr. Plummer.
Thank you so much, Coach Glowa. And again, if you have not had a chance to see our soccer team in action, I would invite you to do so this fall. It is amazing to see how well they've improved, like Coach said, from each game to each game, but over the course of the season, and they are great to watch. So next up is our head football coach in our football program, head football coach Dan Drake. You know, this is a classic example when we hired Coach Drake of why you hang in there, why you stick with a coach. Certainly, he took over a program that did not win a game before he was hired and only managed to win one game during his first season. If you were somebody that only went on results, probably Coach Drake wouldn't still be our coach. But it was neat when we went through the interview process with Coach Drake. I could tell, and those around could tell, just his love for Williamson and his love for the young man and what the school stood for, but also his vision for Williamson football program. There was no doubt in a matter of time that Coach Drake was going to build a very successful program here at Williamson. And it took time, but boy, oh boy, has he done that. In the past 2 years, winning 6 games, going 11-3 over the past 2 years is amazing. And certainly he will say he could not have done that without a very dedicated staff, and that is true. But we certainly could not have done that without his head coaching drive and the way that he interacts with the young men and all that he does for our football program. So it's a real privilege for me now to turn things over to head coach Dan Drake in the football program.
Thank you, Mr. Plummer. Yeah, we had another very good year. It's been real exciting with the amount of work and effort that to start off my assistant coaches, Dan LaPella, Brian Gugler, Kevin Maloney, Chris Neckel, Mike Willard, John Fralinger. Just the amount of work, I mean, they meet all year. It's a second full-time job for all of us, and you know, it's really been paying off with that, with the combination of the hard work and dedication of our players. It's just been great. I'm going to go ahead. We have a pretty big roster, so I'm just going to name all of the players that played this year, starting with the seniors: Keegan Apple, Mike Andrew, George Bradley, Jack Gibson, Daquan Damir, Deshaun Kemp, Tyreek Langley, Tim Mcfarlin, Matt Maloney, Chris Rapoli, Hunter Thornton, Deshaun Wooden, Chrissie Williams. Our juniors were Sal Carmelingo, Chris Carney, Damian Deldale, DeMar Dill, Shane Doherty, Charles Harris, Greg Kimmel, Tyler Lafferty, Nate Lohr, Anthony Marascio, Giuseppe Paulino, Joseph Strowman, and Bryson Townsend. Our freshmen were Mark Berger, Austin Boer, Patrick Bond, Kyle Bonner, Anthony Ellis, Matthew Hennessy, Jonathan Jackson, Isaiah Kelsey, Nick Layden, Shane Lucky, John Mercanti, Delcory Miller, Joseph Molitor, Michael Moore, James Openshaw, Ethan Poole, Chris Ringwalt, Alexander Skoriewski, Lamont Sumner, Evan Sarantino, Shane Taggart, Tom Tobin, and Robert Whitby. I could very easily go down and say something about just about everyone on this roster and how hard these kids worked. But this year, more than any other year, the 14 seniors that we had just went above and beyond for us and for this program. They all came in their freshman year and finished with a 3-5 record. And they came together and decided that was going to be the last losing record that they were going to have in their time at Williamson. And then they went out their last 2 years and only lost 3 games their junior and senior year total. We had seniors going from offense to defense. I mean, very, very hard to ask a senior, especially halfway through the year. Guys like Hunter Thornton going from tight end that he played for 2.5 years and finished his career at center. Players that were seniors and played their entire career on the defensive line, finishing their career on the offensive line. I mean, guys like Keegan Apple, I think, might have played almost every position on the field except for offensive and defensive line at one point in time. These guys just did whatever we needed them to do to be successful and to find a place to help the team be successful. And, that's spread. That's spread down to the juniors, down to the freshmen. I mean, now we have a junior class that's only lost 3 games at Williamson. And, we have a freshman class that's only lost 2 games at Williamson. And it's just going to keep continuing to build. And it's all because of these seniors we had this year. So, we owe them a lot. I'm going to go ahead and read off our honors now that we had. First team All Seaboard Conference, Jack Gibson, Chris Carney, Greg Kimmel, Joe Spielman, Shane Dougherty, Anthony Marascio, Chrissie Williams, Hunter Thornton, Michael Moore, and Lamont Sumner. Second team All Conference, Giuseppe Paulino, Shane Lucky, Deshaun Wooden, Joe Molitor, Tyreek Langley. We also had USCAA All-Americans, Jack Gibson, Quincy Williams, Hunter Thornton, Joe Spillman, Greg Kimmel, and Chris Carney. And I think that's a little extra special for Hunter Thornton that he was an All-American at center, which was the position we asked him to move to halfway through the season. So that just proves how much of a mark he made at that position. We also had USCAA Academic All-Americans in Hunter Thornton, Anthony Marascio, Giuseppe Paulino. For our team awards, it was really hard this year. Again, we had so many players that contributed and did their part. Our offensive MVP, Hunter Thornton. Defensive MVP, Jack Gibson. Our special teams MVP was Chris Carney. And our Mac Tuff Award, which was an award given out every year in honor of Chris McIver, one of our assistant coaches. Mac Tuff Award this year was Quincy Williams. So I congratulate all of those that won awards. I congratulate the entire 2019 football team on a great season. Thank you for your hard work and dedication. And seniors, thank you for everything that you passed along to those younger kids that are coming up, because we're just going to keep getting better thanks to you guys. Thank you, Mr. Plummer.
Thank you, Coach Drake. And again, what a phenomenal job you and your staff did, as well as the young man, and could not be more proud of you. And we did want to touch base. We were going to save it till the end, but this was a very special year for us, a groundbreaking year for us in the fact that we were able to officially christen the Betty and Russ Harvey 5W0 Harvey Field, our artificial turf field, and it was phenomenal being able to play on that. So a special thanks to our Board of Trustees and to everybody who helped make that possible. It became a reality, and if you have not had a chance to see that field, you need to make a trip out to see it when you legally can do so. It is definitely worth seeing. So a special thanks again to everybody that helped make that possible. And again, it is a phenomenal thing to see. Now we move on to the basketball team and the basketball team awards. Unfortunately, a little bit of bad news. Unfortunately, I got a text right before I was coming over. Coach Michaels was in a car accident. A lady hit him and he suffered 2 broken ribs. And so he is on pain medication, and I think it was better that he not be in on this call due to being on pain medication. So he asked if I would be willing to do that, do the awards. I certainly would be willing to do the awards, because when you look at our basketball team, it's not how you start the year, it's how you finish it. We started the year with 1 senior on the team, 1 healthy junior, and 7 freshmen. And if you can imagine, that's quite a mix there to have to go into and play some of the top teams in the country, of which we forced these guys to do. And so they started the year off 1-6. But again, it's not how you start the year that matters, it's how you finish the year. And they ended up going 9-2 over their last 11 games and finishing with a 15-11 record. And it was really neat to see those guys gel as a unit, come together, and perform to such a high standard at the end of the year. And certainly, a lot of that credit goes to Coach Michaels. He's not here, so I'm going to talk about him. It is such a privilege for me. As many of you know, I'm on the United States Collegiate Athletic Association Board of Directors. And every time that I go out to one of our meetings, everybody there knows Coach Michaels and asks how he's doing. And everybody there speaks so highly about Williamson, not just our basketball players on the court, but more importantly, how they perform and how they act off the court. So none of that would be possible without him. So Coach, we know you can't be with us tonight, but we're thinking about you. Hopefully you will feel much, much better. And we'll look forward to seeing you back on campus once things clear up around here. So let me get on with the basketball team. First, I'll read the roster for you. The lone senior. And again, we can't thank this person enough. Nazir Goldston, can't thank him enough for his willingness to hang in there. And he was a real leader. Being the only senior, as you can imagine, he did a phenomenal job. And again, we can't thank him enough for his leadership there. We had 3 juniors, John Busa, Tango, Danzo, and James Lawton. In addition, we had 7 freshmen, Joseph Adoric, Jonathan Cruz, Joseph Flores, John Nestella, Corhan Mills, Tyre Morgan, and Justin Ritter. Okay, a couple things to point out to you. One of our players, Tango Danzo, if you haven't heard that name before, you haven't checked our website, because he had a phenomenal year for us as a junior. He led the nation in blocked shots. Now, he averaged 6.0 blocked shots per game. To put things in perspective, second place in blocked shots per game, second place in the nation was 2.1. That's pretty amazing when you think about that. He also was second in the nation in rebounding at 13.6 rebounds per game. And he was 9th in scoring, averaging almost 20 points a game. He had a phenomenal year and was a first-team USCA All-American, as you can imagine. So he is the team MVP. If he were here, we would give him that award, but we will make sure that you get that, Tango, when you come back. But also a special award that Coach gives out is the Most Improved Award, and that always doesn't go to the best player, but that goes to a guy that maybe had a rough start to things early on and really developed over time. And certainly this guy did, and was a key contributor towards the end of the year. So Coach Michaels' Most Improved Award goes to Corhan C.J. Mills. We also want to give a special shout out to our manager for the basketball team, to Sean Johnson. What a great job he did as well. So we are obviously with 1 senior, 3 juniors, and 7 freshmen. We are looking forward to next year, and it should be a great year, especially with these guys having the experience that they gained this year. So congratulations, basketball team. What a great finish, 9-2 again over the last 11 games, and we thank you for your effort as well. So now we will move on to the wrestling program. And if you know anything about our wrestling program, this time last year, we were in dire straits. Unfortunately, we were forced to make a coaching change. We then went through a pretty lengthy process to try and hire the next coach, of which come July, we thought we had. We actually did. Unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond our control, we weren't able to hire that gentleman. I don't know if you've ever tried to hire a wrestling coach towards the end of July. It is almost impossible to do so, because at that point, every quality coach knows exactly where they are coaching. Now, as I was going through this process, I was consulting with the father of one of our wrestlers, who also was a wrestling coach in the area, a very esteemed wrestling coach, and also a wonderful person as well. So I was consulting with Ron Frank to see who he thought, if we had candidates that would apply, to pick his brain a little bit and see what he thought. And finally, come September, and we had no leads, I pretty much begged Ron, would he be willing to just fill in for a year for us, just to get us through the year? He thought about it, prayed about it, and with permission from his son, who was a wrestler on the team, he said that he would be willing to do it. I got to tell you, not often do I want to pat myself on the back for making a great choice, but I'm going to do it in this case. Could not have had a finer choice, nor could we have a finer man as our head wrestling coach. It has been exciting to see the transformation in the program this year, the dedication that the guys have towards the program, but also the love that they have for the head coach and the coaching staff. And Coach Silvestri's hung in there with us. He's been there now 24 years as our assistant coach, and what a great job, and Paul Loth as well. The three of them combined, in my opinion, to give us the best wrestling coaching staff in the country, bar none. So it has been a real privilege for me to work with Ron and to see the job that he's done. And so with that in mind, Coach Frank, I'm going to turn it over to you for the wrestling awards.
Thank you, Mr. Plummer. When Mr. Plummer consulted with me way back in May, he said he just wanted a wrestling coach that was the most knowledgeable. When it hit June, he was then just looking for anybody that could command the attention of the kids and also keep them focused. By July, he's like, oh, just give me somebody who's good looking. So I couldn't turn him down 3 times in a row, and that's why I took the job. So anyway, we had a wonderful season. We had a dirty dozen wrestlers up in Pigeon Palace, which is our home, away from home, and they were completely dedicated this year. We had 5 freshmen, 1 joining in the middle of the year, which is unheard of with a sport as difficult as wrestling. And we had 3 managers, which I would like to thank. Kevin, Justice, and Tyler Coffin. Thank you guys for all you do. Our 5 freshmen, Kyrell Smith, never wrestled before and came out on the team, won 5 matches this year. Shane Ludke, Zach Jones, Austin Board, and Jacob Armstrong, who I talked about, came in the middle of the season. And then we had 4 juniors this year. Mikey O'Brien, which I'll talk about later, and Avery Frank was 2 of our leaders. Joe Ely, who is our throwing dummy in practice, and Barry Boyle, who broke his ankle about midway through the season. And then we had 3 seniors, Marcus Lewis, who never wrestled before, never got a chance to get on the mat, but finished the year, Nick Venuti and Martine Renault. Through the year, I just wanted to thank our 2 assistant coaches, Paul Louth and, of course, Joe Silvestri, who's been around forever. Thank you guys for all you do, and thank you for making this team just like a family. Through the year, we had 2 individuals that were ranked nationally. Those were Nick Venuti and Avery Frank. They were ranked in the top 15 in the nation in their sports. Our team captains were Mike O'Brien, Avery Frank, and Nick Venuti, who worked so hard to keep control and also have fun, show all the moves, and set the tone for the rest of the team. We had 4 national qualifiers this year. Qualifying for nationals, Martine Renault, Michael O'Brien, Nick Venuti, and Avery Frank. They all qualified for nationals, made it out to Texas. I just wanted to thank those guys for their outstanding achievement. Went out to Texas, wrestled as hard as they could, won a bunch of matches, but unfortunately none of them were able to place. And then we came home and the campus was empty. It was surreal. Our MVP for the year, let me go for our most improved. Our most improved for the year, Martine Renault. In the 2 previous years, he struggled to even finish the year. And this year, not only did he finish the year, he never missed a match and also made it to nationals. Our most valuable wrestler was Nick Venuti, who, as I said before, was ranked nationally all year long, was seated 10th out at nationals, came up a match short, but wrestled with all heart and is certainly deserving of our MVP. We had, last 2 things I want to talk about is our academic All-Americans. We had 1 USCAA academic All-American, and that was Michael O'Brien. Well done there. Wrestling is a difficult season, just pounding all the, and then just having to concentrate on your academics. That's amazing. And while we were out at nationals, we had 1 NCAA academic All-American, and that went to Avery Frank. So we're looking forward to next year. Hopefully, we have 9 guys come back because we only had 3 seniors, and plus the addition of maybe 10 or more new freshmen. I think things are turning around for Williamson in the wrestling department. Thank you for your time, and back to you, Mr. Plummer.
Thank you, Coach Frank. Really appreciate that. And again, can't thank the wrestlers enough for the way that they represented the school on the mat and off it as well. And that's a tribute to Coach Frank and Coach Silvestri and Coach Loth as well. So thank you, guys. We want to take a look now at our baseball team and head coach Doug Thompson. Coach Thompson has been with us a long time. And I have to tell you, the reputation that he has throughout the baseball world is unparalleled. There is nobody that knows Doug that doesn't speak highly of him, and I want to lead that club as well. Coaching at Williamson, especially baseball coaching at Williamson, you have got to be flexible. You don't know when it's going to rain. You don't know when you're going to be able to practice in the gym, or if you can even get to practice in the gym. You don't know if there's going to be a special event that some of the guys have to go to. Coach Thompson is as flexible as they come. He is a true team player. Certainly, we threw him a lot of curveballs this year, especially starting in the fall with tryouts and whatnot. And certainly he went with that, and he always will be the team player and do what's best for the school. Can't tell you how much that means, being in my position, knowing that we've got a guy that not only can get us ready for competition and help our players to be the best that they can be on the field, but also to help represent Williamson as best he can on and off the field as well. So it is my privilege to introduce to you head coach Doug Thompson and the baseball awards. Coach.
Good evening. Thank you, Dale. And I want to thank you and Sue and the entire Williamson staff for helping the baseball team, even though it was a short season. But we still got a lot of productivity out of the guys this season. We started off with a shutout at the beginning of the season, and then we ran into like a little downhill as far as losing 5 games in a row. But the last game that we played, and I think for the record, we were actually the last athletic team to play on March 11th before we ran into this pandemic. With that being said, we have 22 players on the team and 2 managers. I want to start off with the 2 managers, Levi McCall and Jared Roop. They did an outstanding job for us from day one. Couldn't done it without them. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. With our freshmen, we had 9 freshmen, and they are Pat Bond, Kyle Bonner, Zach Fidelibus, Ray Stewart, Kyle Smith, Evan Sorrentino, Anthony Umaraglu, Rob Whitby, and Angel Velasquez. Our juniors were Sean Donnell, Andrew Gilday, Hunter Killian, Eric Loper, Joseph Lucchese, Deontay Martin, Chris Moran, Colin Suter, and Marcus Williams. Our seniors, they were outstanding. We have 4 seniors this year. They were Brian Archambault, Anthony Ardito, Tim Mcfarlin, and Dylan Moore. These guys have been with me for 3 years, and as a father, I feel as though I'm sending them out to the world. They're going to be very, very good out there. For postseason awards, let's start with the academic awards that were announced just recently. We have 3. That's the first time since I've been there. We normally have 1 or 2, but we had a trio this year, and they are senior Brian Archambault, juniors Hunter Killian, and Deontay Martin. And also another postseason award was the 2020 All Senior Team members. They are Brian Archambault and Anthony Ardito. Now, as far as for postseason awards, given the shortened season, but these guys, they gave it their all. The first award is the Russ Harvey Leadership Award. What I look for in that award, being a Marine as Mr. Harvey, is not how where you start, it's how you finish. And that goes to Anthony Ardito. He was always the first guy there at practice and the last one, but then the first one in the weight room once he leaves baseball practice. So that's well-deserved, and he's one heck of a leader. Golden Spike, that is the top newcomer. That award goes to Zachary Fidelis. This young kid is, I can't speak volumes about him. Coach Hackett whispered in my ear as far as where we need to play him, and from there, he took off. The Kevin Scott Award for the most outstanding pitcher. For the second year in a row for our season opener, we've had a pitcher shut out a team, and that award goes to Brian Archambault. Even though it was a shortened season, he showed with his stats that he is still the power pitcher. And lastly, the Sal Instano Award. That award goes to Hunter Killian. He was probably one of our most consistent hitters that we had statistically on the team during the 6 games that we played. And with that being said, in closing, I'm looking forward to next season, getting back out in the field, especially this fall. And with that, I want everybody to stay healthy, and I hope everybody's safe. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Certainly appreciate that. And again, great effort by the baseball team. And certainly we want to say thank you to the United States Collegiate Athletic Association. Even though we only played 7 games, they realized that, and they still offered postseason awards. So our 3 guys were able to get academic All-American, even though they only played 7 games. And certainly that's a tribute to them and to our guys as well, doing that great work in the classroom. Next up is the lacrosse program and head coach Jim DeRose. Now I see he's on the video screen. This would normally be the time when I would, not really say that he's old, but say that Methuselah used to ask him for advice, something along those lines. I'm not going to do that this year since he's not here to defend himself. But I will say one thing, I think he's got the computer thing down better than I do, which is something to be said for. But again, if you were to write a book on how you would want a lacrosse program to be run, Coach DeRose would be the author of that book. And he has done that here at Williamson. He does everything in a first-class way. Nobody cares more about the young men than he does, and no one cares more about the school than he does. He is here in the off-season. He's here in the on-season. He's here in the in-between season. He is always thinking about what he can do to further the program, but also further the school as well. And he does a phenomenal job. And it's a real privilege for me not only to work with him, but also to know him as well and to see him guide our young men. So with that, Coach, I'm going to turn it over to you, and hopefully you've got that microphone working.
We'll see. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Oh, boy. All right. Thank you, Mr. Plummer. And before I get started, one person I really would like to acknowledge, and that would be Sue Moffitt in the training room. Lacrosse is a contact sport, and Sue does a terrific job in making sure that the 20-some folks that we have are in relatively good shape and are healthy and sound in mind, body, and spirit. So here's to Sue Moffitt. Thank you very much, Sue. If I could start, I'd like to recognize the managers. That would be Eli Lanny, Vince Marinello, Mark Mathis, and Justin Rogers. And they did a terrific job. As managers come and go, this particular group of people was very consistent, or were very consistent. The freshmen this year were Josh Ciabatoni, Ryan Fallon, Matt Haynes, Nick Layden, Sean Lutke, Kyle Areskovich, Chris Ringwalt. Our juniors, Joe Corbett, Connor Gospedart, Steve Hanser, Sean Grant, Nate Lohr, and Jimmy McGarrigle. Our seniors, Kagan Apple, Zachary Faust, Tyler Evans, Jake Long, James Moorhead, Christopher and Martin Renault. who spent more time in Texas, unfortunately, than he did in spring practice, but we were waiting for him. He did play. His last game, ironically, was in the alumni game, and maybe his next returning game will be in the alumni game. Did a great job for us as a face-off person. If I could say a couple things about the teams before we talk about the awards, a lot of credit goes to the captains and to the coaching staff. And the captains pretty much this year really set the pace for the team. The team played with verve. They knew that they were good and they were loose and they were confident. They expected to win whenever they took the field. And in my experience here, this is the first time I can say that these kids showed up and they knew how it was going to turn out because they'd put in the time and effort to get to that point. They just didn't press on. They played with the kind of enthusiasm you would expect from a solid team, and they had fun doing it. I guess if there's one thing about the staff, this is probably the most fun team that we had in terms of, if you had to characterize the team with one word, they were fun, they had fun, they played like they were enjoying it. Our MVPs, well, our most improved player was Kagan Apple. I'm sorry, we Kagan. Kagan ended up doing the bulk of the face-off work that had been Martin's for the previous year. And along with Kyle Oreskovich, we were above 50% on face-offs, which was pretty good considering, we had a real stud while we were waiting for our stud to get there. Our MVP offensively was Jimmy Moorhead. And our MVP defensively was our goalie for our second year. He started some as a freshman and was a full starter for his last 2 years, and that would be Dominic Volpe. So season ended too soon. The consensus was, had it gone on longer, we would have done some real damage. But it is what it is, as they say. I hate to quote something like that, but great kids and an honor to coach here. And I see Dale is moving back in. I see the hook. So I got it. Dale, thank you. It's difficult. Never. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity to coach here and to work with these kids.
And thank you, Coach. Certainly appreciate it. And if you did not get a chance to see the lacrosse team, you missed something, because they not only took on Division I St. Joe's and lost by a goal in the last second of the game, their first game, but at the end of the year, won 3 straight. And like Coach said, they were going to do some damage on a national front had that season continued. And that, again, is a tribute to Coach DeRose and the coaching staff. Our last team awards is our tennis team awards. And it's just neat to see how God works things out. A year ago, our head coach, halfway through the season, Curtis Schofield had to leave to take another job. And for the first time, we had an assistant coach. And that assistant coach was willing to step in and guide us through the rest of the year and then become our head coach. And again, certainly a blessing to Williamson and to our tennis program. Unfortunately, Coach Kadzora didn't get a chance to, and our guys didn't get a chance to play in a match this year. As you know, the pandemic hit, and before they were able to play their first match, but they were busy practicing throughout the year. And it was just neat to see his interaction with the guys, how positive he is. Sometimes you're working with guys that have some experience. Some guys in tennis here, you're working with guys that have no experience. His expression never changed. His attitude towards the guys never changed. He was positive whether they played before or not, and just did a great job of molding those young men. And unfortunately, we got a chance to see them on the courts, but we will look forward, hopefully, to seeing the results of his labor and their labor as well next year. But it is a real privilege for me to introduce to you head coach Jason Kadzora and the tennis team. Coach, are you there?
Thank you, Mr. Plummer. I want to congratulate all of our athletes and especially our graduating seniors. I wish you all the very best. This season was unfortunately cut short, but we were able to get a couple weeks of practice accomplished. We have a great group of guys out on the tennis team, and I saw a great deal of improvement throughout the practices. I'd like to introduce our players, starting with Dan Barnes, William Ristine, Timothy Rona, Brian Stekowitz, Adrian Alicia, Dan Nixon, Jack Warner, Nathan Yoder. And our most improved award goes to a player and athlete that competed very hard in our challenge sets, William Ristine. And our most valuable player is our top player, our number one singles player, and our academic All-American, Adrian Alicia. I want to thank you. Keep up the hard work, and I'm looking forward to next season.
Thank you, Coach. Certainly appreciate that. And again, just need to see the development of our players under your tutelage as well. That does it for our team awards. However, we do have a couple of individual awards that we want to share with you at this time. As was mentioned, we have 139 students participate in a varsity sport as a player or manager. We had 21 guys participate in multiple sports, in 2 sports. However, we had one individual that went one step further and played 3 sports and lettered in all 3 of those sports this year. So if he were here, we would give him the 3-sport varsity letterman award. He's not, but we're still going to share that with you. Our 3-sport award goes to Tim Mcfarlin, who lettered in the sports of soccer, football, and baseball. So congratulations, Tim, and a great job by you in all 3 of those sports. Also, you heard mention how important our managers are during the course of the year. And each one of our sports relies on those guys, and they do a phenomenal job for us. And certainly, again, sometimes it's not the most glamorous of jobs, but they do it and do a great job. So we have a Manager of the Year award that we give out annually to the guy who goes above and beyond and does a phenomenal job. This year, and it can get heated between coaches as far as who they think should get that. They go to bat for their guys. We had 2 guys that really stood out. And so in the end, we could not separate between the 2. So we actually have co-Manager of the Year awards this year. And one is to senior Tashawn Johnson in the sport of basketball, and the other is to junior Michael O'Brien in the sport of soccer. Again, thank you, both of you, and congratulations on that award. And again, for all that you do to help both of those sports. Now we come to our Hall of Fame induction, and it is a real privilege for me to be able to share that with you. Again, our Hall of Fame is something that is very, very special. And the gentleman that will be inducted into our Hall of Fame this year is John L. Fox, class of '69. John was an outstanding football player when he was here, and they're certainly, they didn't keep statistics all that well back then. But let me just share with you something and then put things in perspective just to let you know the type of player that John was. John played every single down on offense and defense all 3 years that he was here. Think about that. We have guys nowadays that play one side of the ball and they're tired playing that one side of the ball. Can you imagine having to play every play on both sides of the ball and doing so at an excellent level? And certainly John did that. One of the things that John is perhaps most famous for happened in his freshman year, and that is when he scored the winning touchdown against the Hill School, snapping a 60-year, 46-game winless streak against the Hill School. Now, I got to tell you, certainly over the years, there's been about 7 or 8 guys that have said they scored the winning touchdown in that game. John actually did it. And so certainly a great accomplishment there. But again, I could not see a guy that is more deserving, and certainly, again, he's going to thank his classmates most likely, and he should. They were ones that were really pushing for him. And certainly when we look back over the things, what a great job he did in representing Williamson on and off the field. So, John, I don't know if you're with us. Hopefully you are. If you could unmute and maybe say a couple of words, that would be wonderful if you get a chance to.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, good. First of all, I want to thank Darryl Plummer and President Rounds for nominating me for this prestigious award. Also, I'd like to thank my roommate, Bruce Everett. He's the one that nominated me for the Hall of Fame. At our 50th class reunion, he said to me, "John, you're going to have to give me some information so I can get you in." So I gave him some news clippings and some statistics, which he forwarded to you. So that was a big help. Also, Bruce was the one, he was the CFC of our class. He was the one that got our class going, and we donated $84,000 to Williamson as a gift from the class of 6W9. Also, I'd like to thank my coaches, Stacy Cartledge
and Glenn Stevick. Stacy ran the offense, and Mr. Stevick ran the defense. I'll never forget our first practice. Our first practice was on a Monday. We had a game coming up that Saturday against Episcopal Academy. And in that first scrimmage, or first practice, Stacy penciled in 4 freshmen. Vaughn Long at end, Tommy Arena at fullback, Phil Locke at quarterback, and me at left halfback. Well, when he penciled those freshmen in, it must have worked, because for those 4 for the next 3 years, started every play on offense for 3 years. So I want to thank them. I also want to thank my seniors, the class of 6W7. After that practice, we went into the locker room, and Rusty Dyer, the starting offensive left tackle, got up and said, "You freshmen, when you come through that door, we're all equal. There's no geezer period, there's no freshmen." So the class of 6W7 must have really realized it, and we had a good year that year. We won 7 games and lost 1. I also want to thank my family, my son Paul, his wife Lori, my daughter Karen, and new son-in-law to be, Pat, and also my wife Kathy. This coming Friday is going to be our 50th wedding reunion. So this is kind of a special week for us. Anniversary of it. Okay, and last but not least, there's a group here that I wanted to talk about a little bit. The guys that I hunted with, socialize with, have lunch with, go to the 4th of July with, various things, and we stay close together. And there's a common denominator here. Cal Moment 6WO, Skip Cross 6W1, Louis Butoniak 6W1, John Eastman 6W4, Dave Andrews 6W6, Wayne Swinehart 6W1, Dave Miller 6W1, Tommy Collins 8W1, Dave Diggins 6W9. Common denominator is Williamson. They've always been my friend and always will be. So then again, I want to thank Williamson, and to my brothers, the class of 6W9, John Fox, 827, signing off. Thank you very much.
John, congratulations. And again, if you were here, we would be able to present this to you, this plaque in your honor. We will make sure that you get that. And certainly your name will go up on our Hall of Fame and the Rest-Off Sports Center as well. So congratulations. Well deserved, as we heard. So
thank you very much.
Now we come to the most prestigious award that we offer on an annual basis as far as athletics goes. And that is the George W. McCarty Class of 37 Athlete of the Year Award. We had 3 outstanding candidates this year for that award. All 3 were first-team All-Americans. All 3 were leaders in their sport, both on a local and a national level as well. And all 3 are certainly deserving of that award. One of the candidates, Jack Gibson, was a 3-time USCA first-team All-American cornerback. He will leave here as one of the greatest cornerbacks, if not the greatest cornerback to ever play at Williamson. He was a 3-time Seaboard Conference first-team player, and certainly, again, well-deserving of that award. Another is Patrick Keeley, who was a senior soccer player, as we heard. Patrick, who finished in the top 3 in the nation in several categories and became the first soccer All-American, first-team All-American in the history of Williamson. And then you heard his name earlier, Von Tango Danzo, or Tango, who was a first-team basketball All-American, led the nation in block shots, as well as finished 2nd in the nation in rebounding. That award, this award could go to any of those guys. They are all well-deserving of that award, but it can only go to one of them. And so we have the envelope here. The winner of the George W. McCarty Class of 37 Athlete of the Year Award goes to Patrick Keeley. Again, the first-team soccer All-American in the history of Williamson. It says here on the plaque that he was the Eastern State Soccer League Player of the Year, was 3rd in the nation in goals scored, 3rd in the nation in points, and 1st in the nation in goals average per game. And so certainly congratulations to Patrick on an honor, well-deserved. And again, we will make sure that you get this award. So again, a great event and certainly a night for us to celebrate all our athletes. And certainly there are certain people that we want to say thank you to. First of all, thank you to you for tuning in tonight. We certainly appreciate that. We wish that we could be in person to thank our athletes, but you being here online, doing so is a close second, and we thank you so much for that. Certainly, we want to thank the Lord. We would not be here if it were not for him. So we want to thank God for his protection over our athletes during the year. You know, one of the biggest fears that I always have in my 32 years here is when we're driving on the road. Well, God looked over us again this year, not a single accident for our guys. And while we had some injuries on the field, nothing major, nothing too debilitating. So we certainly want to thank the Lord for that. I personally think, and again, this is in my 32 years, I think I work with the best coaching staff in the country. Could not be more privileged to work with these guys, and I'm so thankful for what they do, the dedication that they have to their programs, but more importantly, the dedication that they have to building their young men and also supporting Williamson along the way. So it is a real privilege for me to work with them. As was mentioned, we have by far the world's best collegiate athletic trainer, probably the best trainer anywhere, in Sue Moffitt. And so thankful for all that she does for our athletes on a daily basis, and also for putting up with me on a daily basis, and that's a chore in itself. Certainly our board of trustees, we want to thank them. If it were not for them, we would not have athletics. We wouldn't be here celebrating these 139 young men, but we're so thankful for them, and so thankful again for our new field that we were able to dedicate this year. That is a wonderful field for our intramural programs, our student activities, and our athletic teams as well. So thank you, board of trustees, and all the support that you give. If you haven't figured it out, we have the best president and chief of staff in the world. No one is more supportive of you guys than President Rounds and Dr. Zachary. They are here for us and here for you on a daily basis. And so we want to thank them. Whether you see them in a game or not, they are always inquisitive as to how you're doing, both on the field and in the classroom. And there's nothing too much for them to do for each one of us and our sports and our coaches. So we are so thankful for each of them, the job that they do and the support that they give us as well. Also want to thank our alumni associations. A couple of people touched on that as well, but thank you to our alumni association seniors. We want to encourage you to get involved with that and give back to your school through serving on the alumni association. Also the auxiliary, and a great job that they do, and thank you for them. And if we had our banquet on campus, they would be here supporting the banquet as well. And then we are privileged again to work with the finest faculty anywhere. And it is just a privilege for me to work with each one of them and to see the care and concern that they have for a young man and all that they do to make sure that you succeed in the classroom, and for the support that they give as well. Parents, we want to thank you. We realize the sacrifices that you have made over the year or years that your son has played sports here. It is a tremendous sacrifice for you as well, and we thank you for that and the support that you give and to your son, and also to the teams as well, and coming out to the event. So thank you for that as well. Certainly, we want to thank Mr. Viro. If you have not checked out our webpage, we invite you to do so. That's just www.williamsonathletics.com. And certainly you can, when you go there, you can subscribe. So there's a section where you can subscribe, and you'll get updates anytime we post a score or an article. But Mr. Viro is at all our events that he can be at, and he is taking pictures faithfully so that we can put them up on our webpage. So we want to thank him as well for the support that he gives us, and certainly can't thank him enough for that. And then last but certainly not least, I want to thank my wife, Debbie, who puts up with a lot with me throughout the years. It's amazing that I'm still married, but she somehow puts up with me, and couldn't do it without her support as well. And then lastly, again, the reason that we're here tonight, athletes, student athletes, thank you for what you've done. There is no finer group of student athletes in the country. No one goes through what you go through to play sports, other than maybe the military academies. You guys are in class for 8 hours every day. It then takes time to sacrifice to go down to practice for an hour and a half every night, to give up your weekends, to give up your summers, a week of your summer for camp. You guys do that, and not only do it well on the field, you do it well off the field, and you are tremendous representatives of Williamson. So again, thank you, student athletes. Thank you for what you do in the tremendous way and that you represent Williamson. So that's going to bring to a conclusion things on my end. President Rounds, if you are here, could you share a few words with us before Reverend Beck comes and sends us out? You got to unmute, President Rounds.
Thank you, Dale. Sorry about that. I really appreciate Dale putting this together tonight. You know, it was 2 months ago that we all got thrown for a loop by this thing, but we were determined to continue to try to do what we can to celebrate the accomplishments of our students who we're so proud of. You know, athletics is so important to Williamson because it just dovetails exactly with what we're trying to teach all of you students about life in general. And as Dale mentioned, you know, we ask a lot of you, all of you, but you guys step up and commit extra time and effort to be in your sport, into competing and representing your school. And the thing I enjoy the most about being at Williamson and watching the sports teams is seeing how you compete, because a Williamson team never gives up. A Williamson team never quits. A Williamson team gives every ounce of effort, and they compete with class. We're not dirty, we're not smack talkers. We just go out and out hustle you and outwork you, and no matter what happens at the end of the game, you walk off the field and respect what Williamson's all about. And so that just makes me so proud. I gotta say, Mary Nell and I really miss seeing you guys on campus. It is weird to walk from my house up to the office every day and have it so quiet. It's very strange. We are, you know, for you underclassmen, I'll tell you, we're working hard already to put things in place this summer so that we can come back in the fall and continue being Williamson. That means being here, being together, being in our shops, being on the athletic fields and competing. So, you know, underclassmen know that, prepare for that, be ready for that, and be ready to come back. Seniors, all I can say is thank you. It's been so fun to be with you these 3 years, and I really do feel bad for for especially baseball, lacrosse, tennis, that you didn't get your full season. You deserve that. But here's the thing, seniors. In 2 weeks from tomorrow, we're going to be out on the lineup pad waiting for you to drive by, to run out and ring that bell, to pick up your diploma and your transcript, and we'll give you a virtual fist bump or a virtual hug or something. We're excited to see your face, and know that we're going to fully celebrate your graduation on homecoming weekend on Saturday, October 17th. So you will get that chance to put on that gown and that cap and to walk across that stage. You earned that. And we want to see you there and celebrate with you, and you to celebrate with your classmates. So we're excited for that. I also want to congratulate Patrick Keeley and all the award winners and John Fox. I got to say, Dale's not exaggerating. We had the 50-year reunion this spring, and we had a chance to spend some time at dinner with the class of 6W9. And they are a special class. They are very close. But almost everybody that had a chance to talked about that game against the Hill School and what they did. And you realize that as much extra effort as it is, you know, that's what you'll be talking about at your 50-year reunion. And those are the memories that you take with you, of how hard you had to work, of how hard you had to, you know, when chips were down, you pulled together. All of those stories, they'll 30, 40 years from now, they'll seem like they were just yesterday. And so those memories that you've made with your teammates here are special. So cherish them, and underclassmen get ready to come back next year and make a whole bunch more of them. So in closing, Dale thanked everybody, and I'm not going to run this out by thanking everybody again, but Sue Moffitt and Dale and all the coaches, so proud of what you do for Williamson and for our students here. Thank you for putting this together. We missed out on some good Burbage cooking this year, but we're determined to come back next year and pick up that tradition right where it left off. So thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak, Mr. Plummer. And again, guys, congratulations. Enjoy it. Take care and God bless.
Thank you, President Rounds. And congratulations and thank you to the students. A job well done this year. I was given a note on my way over that seniors awards will be available at graduation, whether you are here in May or in October. And then junior and freshman, you'll have your awards when you return. So keep that in mind. And now, as we close our time together, may I pray and ask God's blessing on you. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge and love of God and of his Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost be amongst you and remain with you always. Amen. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord. Praise be to God. Thank you and good night.
Thanks, Dale.